Every month, about 20 to 30 abandoned or stray animals enter the doors of the Whitman County Humane Society. But on Saturday, April 17th, Animal Haven goes to the dogs. The job description for most baristas is to serve coffee with a smile. But at this coffee house, workers are adding a little bit of artistry to your morning brew. We walk by them every day. There are things many of us hardly acknowledge, but for some, these areas require a much deeper look. For decades, apparel, merchandising, design, and textile students have showcased their original designs at a fashion show on Mom's Weekend. This year, the designers chose to go back to their roots. College Hill rezoning plans are debated at City Hall.
See what seniors aspire to do before they graduate.
And Cougar Baseball heads to Eugene, Oregon to face off against the Oregon Ducks. Tonight, those stories and more as complete coverage of your local news starts right now. An overnight standoff in North Spokane leads to police putting an offender back behind bars. The standoff started just after 8 o'clock last night when the suspect, Dustin Rauscher, barricaded himself in an apartment with 3 women inside. Police say Rauscher threatened to kill police if they tried to arrest him. Negotiators were able to convince him to peacefully surrender after several hours, and police took him into custody by 1:30 a.m. Rauscher is booked into jail on unlawful imprisonment and assault. A request has been submitted for help in paying for the state's basic health plan. U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell joined several state officials Monday in supporting the new law and sending in a request for what's known as, quote, bridge funding. The provision allows states to request money through 2014 to help cover the costs of health insurance for residents who make too much money to receive Medicare and can't afford private plans. In the state of Washington, there are about 65,000 people on the basic health plan, and state officials believe they should be covered by this waiver. A Washington state senator is speaking out against a newly proposed bill. Senator Mark Schessler says he opposes Senate Bill 6503, which would require state agencies, including institutions of higher education, to make a $69 million reduction in personnel costs. Schessler says he didn't support the bill because it does not provide flexibility, especially for institutes of higher education. Senate Bill 6503, which is working its way through the House this week, was passed by the Senate on Friday. A Whitman County Superior Court judge allows a shooting suspect to have his case heard in a different court. Louis A. Lawrence was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder for allegedly shooting at a Pullman man last year. Lawrence filed an affidavit yesterday saying the court is prejudiced against his case. Lawrence also requested a new public defender, but that won't be ruled on until the new judge is assigned. Whitman County Prosecutor Dennis Tracy says the trial was originally scheduled to begin next week at the Whitman County Superior Court, but will now likely be in Spokane at a later date. 2 Colfax residents were killed in an avalanche north of Brundage Ski Resort. The 2 snowmobilers were caught in an avalanche this morning while riding in the Hard Creek Guard Station area of Idaho County near McCall. The 2 men who died were riding with 3 other family members when they were buried in the snow for 3 hours. Currently, emergency crews from Idaho, Valley, and Adams counties are on the scene, assisting with the recovery of the 2 men. The entire state of Washington was pushed around by the wind today, but will we see any nice weather for finals week? I'm Taryn Hauglie, and I have your Cable 8 weather after the break. Welcome back. Well, today we saw some very high winds at 25 miles per hour out of the west side and a high of 51 degrees. Let's move on into tonight. The winds will die down just a little bit, but they'll still be a little bit gusty at 15 and a low of 37, some partly cloudy skies. As we move on into tomorrow, it's going to rain a little bit with a high of 48. Sunrise is going to be 5:33 in the morning, and then the sunset is going to be just before 8 o'clock. So as we move on in the state map, it's pretty much windy all throughout the state, with just a little bit of clouds in Spokane and mostly cloudy skies all up and down the west side. A 5-day forecast. Well, if you were looking forward to taking out a blanket to study for some finals, you're not really going to get it. It's going to be rainy all week, but you know, it should clear up by the weekend. That's all I have for you guys at weather. Back to the desk. Hopes for a state basketball trophy are crushed, but the Cougar baseball team is showing promise. I'm Taryn Hauglie, and I have your sports after the break. The WSU baseball team hosts the nation's top-ranked team this weekend. The Cougars will take on the Arizona State Sun Devils in a 3-game series with the opening game scheduled tomorrow at 5:30. Right-handed pitcher Chad Arnold is projected to take the mound for the Cougars as they'll face off against ASU's pitcher Seth Blair. All games will be available via webcast on WSUCougars.com or heard on Hit Radio 104.3 FM. The Pac-10 Conference is upholding a controversial ruling from a Cougar basketball game in Pullman. Pac-10 Conference Commissioner Larry Scott says he reviewed the officials' decision to issue a technical foul to WSU. Officials issued the foul with .3 seconds left in the first overtime of the December 31st loss against Oregon. WSU Athletics Director Jim Sturck says the conference determined the play remained a live ball situation and therefore WSU prevented continuous play. Sturck says he then sent the Pac-10 a copy of the coach's video, but the conference says the second video reaffirmed its initial review of the play. Sturck says WSU fans must abide by the conference's interpretation and move forward. The job description for most baristas is to serve coffee with a smile, but at this coffee house, workers are adding a little bit of artistry to your morning brew. If students study for their finals at Zoe Coffee House, they may be in for a sweet surprise when they look at their cup of coffee. Latte art is a method of pouring steamed milk into espresso to create a pattern on the surface of the drink. But how do they do it?
The milk has to be really smooth and really creamy, not too thick, not foamy enough, and the shots have to be pulled really nicely to get the definition.
And their attention to detail does not go unnoticed.
It just shows that they put a little extra effort into making a coffee rather than trying to quickly get through the line of people.
Randy has been a latte artist for about 4 years, but she says she's still learning.
It really took me time to learn and know how to do it, because you can do it right off the bat, but I mean, to really perfect it, you have to kind of work at it.
Randy says she loves having the freedom to create new things in a simple cup of coffee.
It's always fun to create your own thing. I think that's what I like the most, is just being able to be free and do whatever you want.
Randy says all the baristas at Zoe Coffee House do the latte art because they care about their coffee and how it is presented.
If someone gets their cup of coffee and it has this beautiful work of art on it, then it shows the customer that we take time, with their coffee and care what it looks like, and if it looks beautiful, it's going to taste even better. So I just pour my heart into it.
Reporting for Cable 8 News, I'm Taryn Hauglie.